am Bill Simmons, Artistic Director of the Phoenix Theater Cultural Center in Indianapolis, and today I'm delighted to be talking to Kendall Crenshaw. He is a student in my Sanford Meisner acting technique. We are approaching our 2-year anniversary in the training. We started in April of 2019, and by the first or second week in June, we will have 14 Sanford Meisner graduates to add to those here in Indianapolis. So Kendall, welcome. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for having me be a part of this interview with you, Bill.
So what speak to, why are you finding this moment as we record this, it's about mid-March, and why are you feeling so inspired about the time we're in and what's coming in 2021?
It's a growing development of mental health is what I've noticed, and still staying busy as much as I can throughout acting. I have taken more of a determination to self-love myself in order to grow better for the world. I can't always internalize everything when there's still so much more work to be done. Like, it could always be worse, absolutely, but there's still a step that needs to be taken forward, if that does make sense. As much as we're able to, yes, and as much as we're able to express an opinion about something that may be uncertain, there's still a time period where we can be able to keep going. That's what I noticed. Like, it's a little stop, like it's a bus stop for the time being, but we still have to get to the destination in order to enjoy the future, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've been guilty of, I think, internalizing way too much of my work and taking it way too personally ever since I became artistic director, and even before that. And I've been hiring professionals not to sort of guide me on a personal level and guide me on a professional level, because the way I've worked for the number of years, it's just, I don't want to be that anymore. I don't want to work that way anymore. I'm not interested in being that kind of a human. I'm interested in the art, and I'm increasingly interested in social justice. And I'm thinking about, as I go forward, how can I combine the art with raising money for arts and cultural groups or social justice groups that because I'm passionate about helping to change the world, and I'm tired of coming at it from a place of being afraid as to, here are my talents, how can I help move us along as human beings on this planet and whatever time I have left. So you came to the Meisner class. I forget when we auditioned it. Was it like wintertime of 2019?
I remember it being the springtime. I was actually employed at the restaurant at the time being when I auditioned for the Meisner class. And I remember I was just so anxious and scared. And I met you and the lovely Miss Chelsea Anderson. Like, y'all were just so happy and smiling at me. I was looking at like, oh dear, they see me in my work uniform. I don't know how I'm gonna be. And then when I first came in, I presented to y'all my Meryl Streep monologue. And I was just so nervous, from August Osage County, one of my favorite productions that she's done with Julia Roberts. And I remember recalling that when they were on set for that movie, that it was long hours. It was long hours, but they enjoyed it. And there do be some productions where not everyone gets paid too well throughout the production. It's just the craftsmanship of being able to participate within the work. That's why I just loved Meryl Streep so much in that movie. When I was able to present that monologue to y'all, I just felt happier. It was just enlightening. It was such an enlightening moment. And I was just so thankful to even be a part of this great program. It's just a lovely journey to be able to express within my lifetime.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how the Meisner training has impacted you as an actor. Had you taken any acting classes prior to the Meisner program at the Phoenix?
Yes, I actually have. And it's an acting academy, but I would love to give a shout out to Deborah Ashante's Children Theater, Ashante's Children Theater. I do consider them as an acting program where they did teach acting classes more for the youthful actors, but being even a mentor there, it was just a loving environment. But within the Meisner training, I've never felt vulnerability help grow me as an actor. Of course, acting has emotions involved. Yes, everyone could be an emotional actor, but the fact that you're able to still remain to be yourself and evolve within a human nature, like essence, and be able to show a visionary for not even the adults, just for the children. That's why I enjoyed working so much at Ashanti's Children's Theater. The children were such a life-changing moment for me that it helped me keep going and believe that there's still a purpose. And with the Meisner training, I never thought that being myself can be so free. I never thought that freeing yourself, like the Meisner legacy, just looking up all the stuff like from restoration texts, like I still love the O'Neills that we participated in when I was Peter. Peter was such a delightful, kind-hearted man, and I just enjoyed him so much. But it's like I had to focus on who this woman is, that she may be Valaire, like she may be crazy. I believe so was Valaire. It's just when you're able to be vulnerable within those moments, it helps me channel the factor of the math is that I'm here. I'm actually still here. And I never thought I could make it this far. But rather than be so hard on myself, be grateful. Be grateful because you are still here for a reason to keep going. I don't not to talk too much of your ear off. I really am happy that this is an acting class that I'm able to participate within again to show that I can still survive. If that does make sense. If not survive, I can still learn. There's a purpose for everything. So
Oh,
that's
yeah,
what I
Kendall, yeah, no, I think what you're saying speaks to what I think is one of the core tenets of the Meisner technique, or any good acting technique, or any good training to be any kind of artist, cellist, a painter, a sculptor, a dancer, or whatever, is that you have to use the tools so that it brings out you as a human being. And so as I tell the students, if all 14 of you, and there's still 14 in the class, it's a very big class, if all 14 of you got assigned, Hamlets to be or not to be, you probably would give 14 really powerful performances. Some of you might even dazzle with your work, but it would be 14 completely different Hamlets, because your Hamlet comes from you, and the tools allow you to just bring, yes, there's character work, but ultimately it's, my version of Hamlet, it's Kendall's version of Hamlet, it's Paige Scott's version of Hamlet, it's Tracy Herring's version of Hamlet, it's Laurel Getzinger's version of Hamlet, it's Josiah McCruiston's version of
yes.
Hamlet. Those are all people in the class, right? And and I'm so glad that you enjoyed the O'Neill text, because the reason Sandy Meisner assigned O'Neill's is he believed that Eugene O'Neill was the closest the American theater got to Greek tragedy, right? Because they're huge stakes. I mean, there's murder, and there's illegitimacy, and there's I mean, there's all the gamut of things humans can do to one another, or in O'Neill's plays. And the fact that you played Peter in Morning Becomes Electra, I'm so glad that you recognize what a really kind and decent human being is. And I remember the woman who played Lavinia opposite you just really hating Lavinia, and I was like, well, Lavinia actually does a really kind thing. She sets him free because she knows how damaged she is, and that she will end up killing Peter. He'll either commit suicide like her brother did, or some hope, or she's just going to make his life miserable. And the fact that you brought such kindness and generosity of spirit to Peter allowed her, the actor playing Lavinia, to really open herself up to, it's she's not a villain, she's actually doing the best she can with being a broken human being.
And Mickey, she was just phenomenal playing Lavinia. And Lavinia, I grown to feel more sorry for Lavinia. She was just wounded. She was wounded. I remember expressing within class, she was just very confused through living throughout that time period. I feel like she was maybe in competition with her mother throughout those trials. Like the women had to just understand so much within a quick matter of time. Like they had to keep the settledness in order to keep going, like to keep the presence for what is best for each common day. They couldn't be the commoners, they had to be great. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about restoration text. You just came through restoration text, and character work in the Meisner world comes at the very end of the training. It's one of the last things we do, because Sandy Meisner believed that you had to build all the other part of the work, get your truth, get your understanding of a scene before then you layered on character work. So character work comes toward the end. Sandy Meisner believed that that the playwright gave you everything you needed. So one of the assignments when we get started on character work is you go through a text, you write down everything your character says about himself and everything everybody else says about himself. And sometimes a playwright also will give you in the notes key cues to behavior, right? But somewhere between those extremes, how a character sees himself and how others see him, is the truth. Same thing with like when you get, information about who said what to whom, you get somebody's testimony and somebody's testimony, and in the center is probably the truth, right? So you just played Tartuffe in Moliere's Tartuffe. Describe Tartuffe and describe the work you had to do as an actor, knowing that you're, the kind of a human being you are and who Tartuffe really is and the challenge you had as an actor.
Tartuffe, I'm a gracious human being. Like I love everyone, and I love everybody. So Tartuffe was unpredictable, if I may say, like I expressed earlier. Tartuffe was someone that I had to channel within an atmosphere that I was not normal with, and being able to experience that new level of acting helped free me still, but in a matter where I can be able to still have control. And having control still as an artist or as an actor, it's not easy. It's very complicated. So still relating within myself to be Tartuffe, it helped show to me that mental health can be controlled as long as I still believe in myself and put the work within the best efforts of my will. So, Tartuffe, I want to say that I am so thankful to be able to grow as an actor, to learn the work of Tartuffe, but I got very uncomfortable within who his character was, and especially the time period that it represented and how he treated others. Like he was just wanting everything that Oregon had. Like everything Tartuffe wanted was everything from Oregon. Like, and he felt like he was able to marry Marianne just by the free will of his word of God. And then I don't like how he was towards our Elmir. And it's so upsetting that to keep a conversation with Tartuffe. It was unsettling, but very growing in order to research and learn Tartuffe. And even working on the character sheet, I've even noticed that I do relate with this man. Like sometimes I could get eager, sometimes I could get anxious. Every now and then we all get greedy. Like I would like this and that. It's like at a buffet again. But unfortunately now we're in COVID, but if it was a buffet, yes, I want all the rolls and the salads. Oh, I need all the salads and extra chicken, just extra steak, like extra everything. But now I'm on a diet. I love Tartuffe. If I could be honest, Tartuffe was very inspirational still, but he was different. He made me uncomfortable. And that's why I think I enjoyed it the most. Because I remember an actor by the name of Lakeith Stanfield. I would release, it was the movie called Judas and the Black Messiah. He
Oh
had to
yeah.
seek, he had to seek, unfortunately, mental health counseling in order to play that type of role. And seeing that was very uncomfortable for him, I could only literally imagine how he feels as an artist or as an actor or even as a father in order to show that he was able to present this work for the people. That's how really I feel about Tartuffe, if I may say in a short answer.
Yeah, I think what I picked up as we were working on the scene, what I picked up from you was, Tartuffe uses a lot of tactics, a lot of verbs. We call them, doings in the Meisner work, which is there. It's how you get what you want from the other person in the scene. And so, does he plead? Does he cajole? He seduces. He threatens. He suggests. He alludes to. But he uses all of the tools to try and get this married woman to have sex with him, right? Because the Oregon, as you mentioned before, owns this vast estate somewhere in France. This play was written about 1660, 1680, somewhere in that range, right? This was when there was a great flowering in European theater again, because the Restoration was happening in England, and the Louis were on the thrones of France, and it was just a great flowering of the arts in the late 1600s. And so sexuality and humor and comedy started to get back into the stages. And so anyway, Oregon is this wealthy landowner. You know, he may or may not be an aristocrat. And Elmire is his wife. And the scene that you had, you played Tartuffe in the scene in which he tries to seduce Elmire, Oregon's wife, because, as you said, Tartuffe wants all the things that Oregon has, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, and so can you speak a little bit about why you think you went from why I gave you Peter in Morning Becomes Electra, and then gave you Tartuffe in Moliere's play Tartuffe? Why do you think why do you think as a Meisner student that those are your assignments?
It's to test my character and to test my, not only, I don't want to say the word determination like I expressed earlier. I want to say the trustworthiness, if I may, and the perseverance. I feel as if you want to put me in a position where it's like, how do you feel about the work? And not just testing me as any other actor. I feel like you want to personally ask me, Bill, how do you, Kendall, feel about the work? This is about you now. Who are you, in order to show to me these two different men? I felt great at one point to be able to show to you that I can feel these two different men. These two men can feel me. When I was finally able to let Tartuffe be me, I was literally in the middle of Julie and I doing the scene. I was lost, but I was still there. And to be able to see myself be still Kendall as Peter, but grow into is another personality of myself as Tartuffe. I don't want to brag, but I have never thought that my commitment within being an actor since I started studying theater in 2016 will show this much grace. And being able to be Peter helped keep me safe because I know this is like, of course, how my mother raised me. I still love women. You know, I always honor women, adore women. I'm the type to like take my jacket off and place it on the puddle because that's a Peter type of man. But with Tartuffe, it's more of a man with power and dignity. And I still know I have a virtuous essence. So being able to see Tartuffe, I was able to understand characters like Samuel Jackson in Eve's Bayou, or even a character such as not within human nature basis, but like Philip Seymour Hoffman, like within Doubt, that Meryl Streep and Viola Davis were a part of. Those type of character developments, because you got to take your eyes within that type of person. Like Tartuffe reminds me of someone from Criminal Minds. Like you got to take yourself into the mind of the criminal and learn how to adapt. And it's unfortunate that we all have an opposite side in life of who we are, but we're able to still have self-control within that mental health that shows a progressive work, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. And I just want to compliment you on your on the actors that you've referenced, because you know all those people are such masters of their crafts, you know. Unfortunately, Philip Seymour Hoffman is, you know, no longer with us, but Meryl Streep. And I'd forgotten about Eve's Bayou. That's a beautiful film. I
I
that's
love
been,
you.
yeah. And is it The Devil and the Black Messiah? Is that the Judas and the Black Messiah? So sorry. That's on my list. I'm actually going to try to get to it this weekend. I've been really trying to. I've been spending a lot of time in this pandemic year watching movies and TV shows and reading books that I don't know I would have a year or so ago. And part of it is you know what transpired last summer with around the murder of George Floyd, and just our long overdue awakening to the justices of this world. And I've joined a number of book clubs, well, not number two of them, but they're all dedicated to writers of color. And one is with National New Play Network colleagues. And that's just been so great because some of it has been fiction, some of it has been nonfiction. Right now I'm in a book club and we're reading Isabel Wilkerson's Cast, and that's been just eye-opening. But I've also really enjoyed just, yeah, like I recently watched One Night in Miami. Have you watched One Night in Miami?
Yeah, yes, Regina King. She was a personal great help within that movie. Yes, Regina King did a lot of great work within that movie. So yes, I would love to see that. It got all these Hodge in there. He was in the Underground TV series. Yes, I need to watch it. That's still on my list right there.
It's beautifully directed. It's beautifully acted. It's those four men, Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Jim Brown, and Sam Cooke, all did spend this night together in this hotel room. And what was, it's based on a play, and obviously the conversation between those four men is completely, made up. But the idea that those four men were together one night, I just thought was amazing. But it's just so beautifully acted. It's beautifully directed. It's beautifully shot. It's just the attention to period detail. It's just really a lovely project. But I do feel like I've made it a goal of mine to just digest as much work of filmmakers and writers and actors and
Yeah.
musicians and that as a and so but I just want to compliment you, not that you need it, but that those actors that you've been referencing they're so committed to the craft, and all of them have tremendous training. And that's the thing. It's like it's about training. It's like that's why I started teaching Meisner in 14, I think, is when I first started teaching the two. I taught it at the college level, but that's just a different situation. But it was in order to give people who wanted it the opportunity to just have a process to work from the time you get a script through an audition, you land the part, you start working before the first rehearsal, you're working outside of rehearsals. And when you come to rehearsals, you're testing out the things you've worked out at home. And then you get into a run of a show. And when scenes get boring for you, you go back and do more of the Meisner work and freshen them back up. And you should be working from the time you read a script right through the final performance, right? And so
Yes.
that's what I see the entire class. I mean, these 14 students, I've been impressed with previous classes, but the level of understanding of the technique and the understanding of where you each are as actors is so much clearer to me than it's ever been before. Like, people understand, they're like, okay, well, here's where I am today. And in 3 months, I'm going to be farther along. And even after the class is over and I'm out in the world using the technique, I'm going to keep growing as a human because life experiences are going to feed my work as an artist. And I just really, I thought you've all come so far, but I think you've probably had some of the greatest challenges in terms of the work I've given you. You did Howard and William Inge's Picnic, who was just a delight. And Howard, you, do you want to talk a little? So gosh, I forget. That's one of the first year texts, right? I gave you William Inge's Picnic, and that wonderful scene in which Howard, the traveling salesman, Rosemary, is she the librarian or school teacher?
School teacher, I believe so. And that was the lovely Charlene Cristobal. Like, oh my goodness, Howard.
Yeah.
Howard's one of those Johns that you just shake your head at, Bill. Like, Howard's just that John where it's like, oh Lord, Howard, please get it together. But it's like it was still, the dashingness. I just loved how he was dashing. Howard's one of those dashing men like that. I wish. Oh, I can't think of it off the top of my head. It's like a good Denzel Washington, like, and maybe
Oh yeah, Denzel Washington would be awesome as Howard.
Yes, like that's how I look at Howard is just a great Denzel to me, but it's just he's smooth. You got to keep the smooth character in you, and how he looks at the women, it's like he has a conquest with women, and so I love women so much. It's like I don't want to treat no woman like that, but with Howard, he was just like, these are my demands, and this is how it will be. So we could keep going, or you can watch me walk away. And it's like, oh, God bless you.
I love how you, when you talk about the characters you played, you actually helped me see them in a way I haven't seen them. But when you talk about it, it feels exactly right. Like, I hadn't thought about Howard as being this charming man and he gets to call the shots, right? He's a traveling salesman and he probably has a Rosemary in every town he's in, right? And this
Yeah,
one wanted him to marry her. Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, no, no, no," and man, she's on it, right? And,
Yes.
the fact I hadn't thought about Denzel Washington being a really effective Howard because, charming and charismatic and then not gonna be caught, right? And then she's like, "Oh, I'm catching you," and, then he becomes actually afraid, right? He's like, "Oh god, she actually might get me." Um, so yeah, I just thought your Howard was a delight. I thought your Peter was so lovely, and I thought you did a really lovely job with her too, particularly that final night, which was just recently, because that man is a dangerous scoundrel, right? And he will take anything he can get because he's greedy. He wants all the things that Orgon, this landowner, has, but yet he's pretending to be this pious, man of God. So like class will be over here in a couple of months, and what do you like? What do you have? What do you think? What does your future hold for you?
Well, actually, we all don't know what the future holds for us, but I am working on a few projects, such as one with Indie Horror Story that will come up within the harvest time season.
Oh,
And
nice.
yes, it's called, one of the productions is called the Fletcher Hotel. So we found out that that's still back in, currency. So I'm looking greatly forward to that. And I am working with a couple of other great directors as well, and some of their sets. And they've offered me an opportunity. I don't want to speak too much into it. I'll rather let the work show for itself. I'm just very grateful for that. And I'm just so thankful that I'm able to show within my resume that I did not give up. Like even from Ashante's Children Theater, I remember within high school, I danced with Too Much Dance organization. They are a phenomenal hip hop and jazz and ballet competitive dancing team. It's just the commitment that I was able to experience with genuine love from that group help show who I am, even as I present my resume for the future to come. And Love International Fashion Show, Black Male Initiative, the organization that I was online for 69 days. Yes, I'm just very grateful for the future. I'm grateful for what's ever shown to me next. Just being able to meet more artists, more actors, more dancers, more singers. Like I was so happy that they finally did a story about one of my favorites, Eleanor, Billie Holiday, and the lovely Andra Day was able to present her. It was such a magistrating movie. That movie was magistrating. But the fact that they were able to show a nuance still, that Eleanor is still a lady, and how much, oh, Bill, I look at Eleanor as a pioneer. I love Eleanor. And when I first seen Lady Sings the Blues, I was like, yes, Diana, yes. And not to get off topic, those type of inspirational life stories give me hope at who I am, that I do not need to give up. The organizations and the groups I've been a part of. That was the genuine love that I needed for my character work to keep going as an adult and as the Black man I am today. Seeing a great presidential election and to know that there's still a hope for people of my existence to continue to grow. There's still a love that will evaporate this entire earth. And so for the future, I'm looking forward to it because I'm grateful for whatever comes our way.
Oh, Kendall, that's lovely. That's so lovely. That's very inspirational. I, I'm working my way back toward toward that. It was a difficult winter for me. But obviously,
Understand?
I come with a lot of privilege in this country, and that's what I want to really own that and help change the world for the better. And that's why I started teaching Meisner in 2014, and that's why whatever my future holds, I just feel like bringing my talents as an artist and my talents as a fundraiser and my passion for changing the world for the better. We're gonna keep going. So, just it's been a pleasure having you on the journey with this Meisner class. I feel like the 15 of us, because there are 14 students and myself, I feel like we're really, in some ways, probably bonded more tightly because we've been in the Zoom world for 12 months, 13, closing
Yes.
on 13 months.
Yes.
Yeah, and I just feel like this class has been so dedicated to one another, and there's been, one of our students lost a parent recently, and there's been a health crisis for some of us, and
Mhm.
but we're coming through it, and I just feel very blessed that we decided to find a way forward, and it's been so meaningful to the 15 of us.
And I just love the fact within the arts still too. It's just like even if we were football players, soccer players, you know, chefs, like even archaeologists or like historians. It's just any career aspect that a human being will take. There's a family that happens to show a gracious love to know that we're all still here. And with acting, I'm glad that I'm able to say that I feel the family within the Meisner class. We did not stop. I thought that when the pandemic started, oh dear, it was about to be a break. You know, we had to get through all this, but no, we as artists, we kept going. Like even as chefs and doctors and lawyers and professors, we all kept going. But within this Meisner class, it was just another bright light from the sky of hope and faith that we are still here. Like the angels are still singing. Like what the Tartuffe said, an endless hymn, and infinite song. Yes. I'm very grateful for the family. And I love everybody within the Meisner class. Like I'm just so thankful for everyone. Like life is so precious. It's just so precious.
Oh, Kendall, that's lovely. Well, on that note, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. And I'll see you Monday night at 6 for our 6 o'clock Zoom class.
Sounds like a plan, Bill. Thank you so much. And I hope you have an everlasting day, a
Oh,
wonderful
yeah,
day.
you too, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.